Hi, and thank you for joining me for IP and Innovation, Due Diligence, and Idea Protection for Global Organizations. My name is Kimberlee Jones, and I am with Jackson Corporate Law. I am IP and Corporate Counsel here, and we are a full-service corporate law firm. Here are some of our specialty areas, but we like to consider ourselves as business people with law degrees because we all hold an advanced business degree, and we're very serious about business. In the 20 years that I've been involved in business, over 20 years actually, and in the last 15 where I've worked strictly in the intellectual property realm, I've noticed a few trends and a few insights that I think I can share today. And I'm going to just, as a disclaimer, attempt to put a lot of information into a very short block of time. I welcome all questions at the end, and you can always feel free to contact me beyond this presentation. But I am going to try to take a very nebulous topic and make it a little more succinct for you for the International Trade Council and the Think Global Conference today. So hope you're enjoying it, and let's get started. So as a first step, I just want to take a beat and ask everybody, in a perfect world, what do you think innovation looks like, right? Innovation for organizations is perfect in a perfect world. Everyone knows exactly what to do. All the right people are in the right place. They have all the right information. Intellectual horsepower and agility is moving and shaking in the organization. People who need to know. The processes are in place. The IP strategy for innovation and acquiring IP or creating IP is clear down to every person who's involved, even including people who will be tangentially involved. All resources are in place. Resources fit the organization. Strategy fits the organization. And everybody knows exactly where to go if they need help or if there's any question. Correct? Is this your organization? Because if this is your organization, you're doing great. You don't have to stay for this presentation. You can go on to another presentation. This presentation will focus on people who actually live for today and understand that innovation means competitive advantage. It's so important. It means market share, gaining it, and also maintaining it. It also can boost the bottom line for an organization. And if you understand that about innovation, then you know it is absolutely pivotal in this day and age to do innovation as close to perfect as possible. But we all know perfect doesn't exist, right? So because innovation is essentially improving, right, on ideas, it's a product, it's a service, it's something that is advanced from what currently exists, and it can create leaps and bounds in an organization. And because of that, you want to create a very methodical process around your innovation, especially in a global organization, because this is key to making sure innovation is at a base level the same, first of all, and second of all, that you have a uniform approach across the organization. And in doing so, you protect your ideas, and in protecting your ideas, this yields quite a few benefits. Some of the benefits include readiness, awareness, and improvements. So readiness includes being ready for evaluation or M&A activity, or if you're ready to monetize your portfolio. Awareness in that actual IP portfolio and what exists there. IP creation process, IP process in general, because it's not just the creation process. There are things that have to happen before and after it's created in order for it to be maintained. And then you have improvements. So you can improve your risk management, which is very pivotal to any organization that wants to be sustainable over time. Your IP budget, which also goes to sustainability, increase quality of IP, and secure innovation. So all of these benefits come from due diligence. And what does due diligence in an organization look like? Who's involved? Essentially, everybody's involved, right? I don't want any particular one group to be just saddled with innovation, because innovation happens at every level and in every discipline in an organization. So your business team, your legal team, and your R&D team, they have their own due diligence. They also work cross-functionally to help each other and make sure due diligence is happening in the appropriate way across the teams. And in all of the activity, because it's focused on IP, we're focused in the business, legal, and R&D teams cross-functionally on the strategy. And if we focus on the strategy and we have goals that align with the strategy, we have the proper expectations regarding innovation. A closer look at each of these particular disciplines, right, and how they contribute to due diligence. The intellectual property team should be consistent of a legal person, a technical person, and a business person. And that could be plural, but at least each one of those disciplines needs to be represented, because the legal team is responsible for your training in the laws, right? And in IP is very regionally specific. So you have IP laws that are different per country. So every region requires information regarding intellectual property laws, and that's responsibility of the legal team. Legal team is a dedicated resource so that anyone can reach out at any time regarding the legal pathways, evaluating invention disclosures along with the technical team, clearance searches, making sure there's no prior art, or making sure there's freedom to operate, leading outside counsel regarding applications for intellectual property rights, co-managing the budget, maintaining the contracts, and helping to manage the portfolio. The technical team owns the IP process. They don't do it specifically by themselves, but they own the beginning, middle, and ending of creation of intellectual property rights. So they have to protect IP and development. They have to know what goes into invention disclosures. They have to support the IP right acquisition process. So for instance, if it's a patent, they have to support the prosecution process, which includes office actions, and the same with trademark. There's an examination process, and that has to be supported as well. If it's a trade secret, support is needed as well. So the technical team is pivotal in protection, and they work very closely with the legal team in all of this. The technical team also supports data analysis. Data is your friend, and understanding what the data reads and being able to exhume data insights is huge, because this tells you where the innovation is today, where you sit as a company regarding the innovation, where you may want to go, where you may want to steer clear of. Is there white space? Are there possible partnerships that can be had? This is a very important process, and you definitely want to have support in data for your technical team. Co-managing the IP budget and participating in portfolio maintenance go hand in hand. Studying of innovation, IP alerts, and monitoring the IP and protecting IP rights as well. This is part of the technical team's responsibilities, as well as their training, their technical function, right? So being able to have the vertical integration of information as well as across the technology team, and then being able to work with the legal and the business team cross-functionally to get all of this done. The business team actually has a pretty good list of responsibilities as well. They are responsible for knowing the IP strategy and keeping it front of mind when they're doing their business deals, protecting IP during business deals, managing IP in the marketing cycle, making sure that you're protecting intellectual property as you go through your business milestones, and you're not exposing IP prematurely, or that you're managing the risk of either not protecting it or moving to the market before protecting it. Whatever the strategy is, it's been calculated. It's been a risk that's been assessed, right? IP clauses and contracts this is a must. And so the cross-functional workings between business, technical, and legal teams is absolutely a must. There is no getting around the cross-functionality that is required during innovation, right? Knowing the different types of intellectual property, so knowing the difference between patents, trademarks, copyrights, understanding what trade secrets are, knowing what you can divulge, what you can't divulge, what would bar being able to acquire a right, and what would be a problem, what would be problematic. These are things that the business team needs to know so that they don't do it, and making sure that all goals are met. So each legal, technical, and business team has a goal, and sometimes those goals aren't always congruent for the other team to work with. But if the communication is there and everyone is working from a specific goal perspective in mind, and to win-win within the organization, this can all be worked out. It can be worked through. So doing due diligence is so important because it eliminates 3 very destructive happenstances that I've kind of come across during my career. And these 3 things are: 1, fragmentation; 2, unfit process; 3, assumption pitfalls. Now, I'm going to define these terms for you, but if you look at them, I'm sure they're self-explanatory. So number one, why they matter is because fragmentation is just that. It's fragmented information. It's gaps in knowledge amongst individual contributors or leaders in the same or similar functional groups at different levels of the organization. And this results in unnecessary exposure and risks in the innovation process. Let me give you an example. For instance, if you have two technical group leaders that are both responsible for pushing forward a product or a service, and they are equipped differently. One is fully equipped and understands how to move process forward with an outside supplier, and the other one is responsible to work with an outside supplier as well, but does not have the full information. You can see exposure there. If intellectual property is involved, if a trade secret is involved, how do you protect it? How do you communicate with the supplier without divulging information that shouldn't be divulged? It's a very serious risk, and it's unnecessary, and it can be eliminated if you eliminate and work on fragmentation. Unfit process, another self-explanatory thing. It's process without training and facilitation. It lacks resources to lead the process, maintain and update the process. There's a lack of feedback maintenance where there's information coming from the process, but no one's collecting the data. No one's feeding what's right and what's wrong back into the process or eliminating what's wrong out of the process. So this results in renegade process. And renegade process is detrimental and crippling to an organization because it will completely stop innovation. It will derail innovation, or it could shut a program completely down because it lacks agility, it lacks innovative execution, and it's a bottleneck, right? Or it's destructive. So you don't want renegade process. And another way to police renegade process is to establish key performance indicators and metrics, because that's another way that the feedback is fed back into the process and things can be improved or changed or updated so that it fits the organization. Assumption pitfalls, something I see a lot, and that is where roles and responsibilities and processes are created, but they lack foundation. The education and training isn't there. Persons or people that are responsible don't have the proper autonomy. There's no motivation to get the job done. People have to be in the appropriate level. They have to be placed at the appropriate level of the organization and have the proper influence in order to get these kinds of things done, because sometimes innovation and IP are looked at, although they're pivotal and they're important, they're kind of looked at as, oh my gosh, extra things to do. So if you don't want to cripple your organization, you don't want to have stagnation in your process, you definitely want to eliminate assumption pitfalls to the best of your ability as much as possible. So just to take a beat here and ask the audience, is anyone able to identify any opportunities like these in your organization? Do you see that there's some fragmentation where you can augment knowledge, process, and or get rid of assumptions? Because this is a very important part of due diligence, right? So I'm sure you're out there shaking your head, or you can silently agree. No need to chime in on the question box and tell all, but this is the reason why we wanted to share this today, is because these are some very serious destructive happenstances that can be avoided. Everyone's goal in business is to have strategic alignment, right? So strategy is evolved based on what the goals for the organization are. Once you establish your goals, you get a strategy, you align all your activities to get there, and you expect to have the right outcome. And when your expectations equal outcome, that's strategic alignment. You don't get strategic alignment without due diligence, and that's why it's so important to take the time to establish it. In due diligence and performing due diligence, you automatically come out protecting your ideas better. And protecting your ideas means so much in this global economy and global business, because so many things are happening at so many different times in the world. But if you focus on protecting your ideas, and that is through your people, through your process, and through your technology, you will see a smooth innovation process, right? So if you can inspire ideas and invention submission within your organization and communicate strategy and protocols very clearly, make sure you facilitate knowledge and process and you have the proper tools in place. You measure everybody's performance and everything that you're looking to have as an outcome, establish a key performance indicator that supports it. Make sure there are metrics in place, and then reward and recognize those folks that make those contributions, that increase the bottom line, that raise competitive advantage, and that give you that boost in innovation that you sought in the first place. This is pivotal to culture, creating an innovative culture, creating a team and a group of people that are working in synergy and working together. And globally, everyone is in tune. And in a global organization, this is difficult because you have so many local customs and laws that are different in different locales. What goes for the U.S. is different in the U.K., maybe different in India. What goes in India definitely probably won't work in Japan, and China is very different from Russia, let's say. And so you've got all these different global presence in your company, but you have to unify this process, right, at a base level. So how it works in protecting ideas in a global organization is that you have buy-in. So the communication piece with strategy and making sure that the executive level folks are involved with the message and the strategy and sharing information, that helps for vertical integration of everyone buying into innovation, how to do it the right way, take the time, perform due diligence and protect the ideas properly. Guiding IP resources are pivotal in this process. People have questions. People will not know exactly what to do all the time, and they'll need to even ask the question more than once. And that guiding IP resource has to be ready to coach this process. Training all processes, because we're going to interact at different levels across different functionalities. So if you have lower level individual contributors, they're going to interact with IP a lot different than, say, your advanced people will. So access to information, intranet SharePoint sites, key performance indicators. This is how you motivate your people to protect your ideas. Your process side, this is where it gets a little tricky because in global organizations, you have to adapt process. You also have to adapt process across technical specialties or different services and different products. You have to make sure invention submission process is clear. Your idea to IPR acquisition process is clear. Make sure your intellectual property review teams and processes are clear and understand exactly how to gain information and how to put information forward. Monitoring IP has to be a process. In any innovative company, you must know what your competition is doing. Securing development contracts is key to innovation. Cross-functional development is also key. Process feedback and improvement protocols, and again, rewards and recognition. And protecting ideas is involved with your technology as well. Well, it's supported by your technology, actually, and it's facilitated by your technology. If your technology is not fit for your organization and your innovation pathways, it's going to be a problem. And so shoring up technical know-how internally, sharing that information on freedom of information sites for the company, intranets or SharePoints, making sure the enterprise asset management tools work and fit the organization, making sure that innovative technical teams have access to the innovation software to search patents, search trademarks, business data, any type of data that they may need. It's very important. Supplier development is important for protecting ideas and making sure that your technology supports the supplier development and identifying M&A targets, as well as using technology agreements in those M&A activities or licensing or monetization in any other types of ways. So these are just some of the ways in a nutshell. And like I disclaimed before, this is a very high level summary. It's not going to get very deep into everything, but I just want you to be tangentially clear as to how this should look. So very quickly, due diligence and protecting ideas. Just levels the playing field. And this is kind of an internal look for the company and an external look for the company when creating innovation and securing it. Now, what I often hear is, we have no time to do this, Kim. We have to go fast. This is going to slow us down. My advice: establish the foundation. If you establish it first and you establish it one time and you do it right, you don't have to continue to do it. So the good news, the great news actually, is that you establish your leadership, establish your construct, generate your feedback loop, and then tweak it for continued success. And you can do that because you must do that. There is no question. In innovating properly, you must establish due diligence to protect ideas. So very quickly, unifying your knowledge, making sure there's autonomy, unifying process, measures, and recognition, especially across a global organization, will be pivotal in innovation and innovating properly. Empowering IP as a discipline, making sure that you have best-in-class technical development, protection protocols, and that you empower the study of innovation is really going to be the best thing that you can do for your organization and to propel innovation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you have questions, I'm ready to take those. And if you'd like to speak to me beyond this, you can reach me at the contact information on the screen. Thank you.